Hey, what's up, guys? You can hear the crickets outside, so the cicadas have finally shut up for the night. August drags, demon season. But autumn, fall is coming. Right? Halloween season. But we're still in the summer issue of Fango. Now, when I saw this, I said Fango. I said they changed the name. Of course, it's made up to look like a glamorous woman's magazine like Cosmo or something. Obviously, even I call it as a nickname Fango. We all do. And the cover is Mia Goth. I had gone over the the first film. I saw part of the second, which you think I would have liked it because it was took place during World War I, but wasn't really. I really don't. I'm not really too impressed with this. So I have no desire to see this film, but whatever. They have their layout like a woman's magazine, and of course I keep saying that horror. Whether you see in Rue Morgue, you always see that it's extremely feminized, like everything else in this dying culture. But there's some good things in here. So I guess I'm becoming more nuanced and more fair. Instead of ripping on them, well, I'll give them credit where credit is due. So usually I pick on this guy, mainly because he's not a hot goth chick, right? Like Andrea. But in here, it's interesting the idea of someone they knew who was a contributor died suddenly. Okay, now that's a horror film. If you know that one documentary, right? A lot of that's happening lately. Interesting. Okay, I'm not even gonna go into that too much because he's basically talking about how, for years, horror fans and pop psychologists, right, as if they're any other, told us that horror fans are more well adjusted for this reason, right? Because they see the death in the films. By watching horror movies, we're actually better than the average person at confronting death. In their own way, horror's detractors made the same point. All this violent depiction of murder and mayhem numbs its viewers to the realities of death. Now, I would argue, especially at this age and point in my life and in history, the detractors were actually more correct. This I never got, the idea that you're better than the average person at confronting death. But when this person died suddenly, right, he kept thinking, where's all this desensitization, big words, towards death I've been promised by a life of watching horror. Well, what would make you think that? Now, the idea of sublimating horror, tragedy, right? The Greek tragedies, Schiller talked about that, like the tragedy, the romantic story is sublimating the horrors of life. You experience it without experiencing it, like you go into like a horror house, like a fun house or something. But I never really believed those pundits who said scary movies would numb us to horrors of the real world. Well, I argue that some of that is true. Today, I kind of wish they had, but I see no evidence of it. Right? He feels abject horror. He feels sorrow. He feels it should not have happened. Right? Well, I mean, life on this planet. Listen, I know a lot of people who have died in my life, probably more than the average person. And there's some people now coming down with things. I won't mention. It's just, I mean, this is why horror is there. But the idea that you think you would handle it better is very surprising. Modern, postmodern Western people, Anglosphere people, very soft, very bourgeois. I even point the finger at myself to a degree. So, sorry about your friend. But it's interesting, just a little aside, that he died suddenly. You have a whole trove of, you want to talk about social commentary, you want to talk about what used to be a horror trope. It's almost like the movie The Crazies by George Romero never existed. There's so much that could have been done with this, and these creative types have done nothing with it. They have done the opposite. You'll see vestiges of that, where the danger is not the people. The government suddenly is not trying to do nefarious things. It's just amazing. Whatever. It's not amazing. We sort of knew it would happen. So go through this. This is the person. This is the demographic you should fear. So there's some film. An English, American bougie couple goes to England, and then English couple. Oh, the guy's name's Paddy, And his name's McAvoy. All right. So, yeah. And these are talking about the same things. At some point, is politeness, rather than being constrained, also an opportunity? Do they try and polite their like? When do society's rules hit caveman rules? Well, you can see this every day. I mean, this has always been this way to a degree. Okay, for the rest of us, and it's even more and more now. You see videos all over the world of what it's like when the society's rules don't apply anymore. And politeness used to be because so we wouldn't kill each other. Okay, but you have a whole neutered race of people. And of course, I have to get this in. There's a lot of these bad actors around now. I don't need to name names. There tends to be disenfranchised men who are looking at these people who are promising them the earth, saying, I'm a maverick, I'm going to change the system and this and that. It's fucking lies because they're larger than life and people buy into that. Well, it's interesting. If you're disenfranchised, why wouldn't you be upset? And you're saying they're disenfranchised. Interesting. Promising them the earth. Promising them a functioning society, but even he can't do that. Okay. But it's just interesting, the creative types. You live in such a bourgeois bubble, okay, until you go get your Thai food and then you get accosted by a drug addict or a refugee that you love. So, yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I have no interest in this film. I don't know why I'm talking. Why I had, there's this cliche of Brits are repressed and Americans are more open. Okay, it's interesting. And there's a type of American that's quite uptight. Yeah, that's actually you guys. Anyway, enough. I'm not even. I want to try to cover stuff I like. Of course, a bone to pick. This is Mike Gingold, of course, from the old Fango. Talking about you hate the old. He has a beef with people that don't like the new horror stuff. Now, I listen. There are like he goes, some of the 80s. Having grown up, there's a lot of crap that came out in the 80s too. Yes, and there are new horror movies that are good. Yes, okay. The percentages though are way inverted, and you to not see the is whatever. It's the call of Cthulhu. It's the decline of the West. Right? Don't expect to know that. So I like this. Your nostalgic film 20 or 30 years from now. 20 years from now, they ain't gonna be probably electricity. So anyway, this was kind of cool. I am a fan. I like Barbara Crampton as a woman who has aged very well. I mean, she was a hot young woman in 1986, right? And she has kept herself in shape. And she's a mother, so she did her job traditionally. And I actually like this article. So to be an artist, okay. Right. One simply has to make something from the heart, mind, and soul, and hopefully others will appreciate what you do, so you can keep doing it and maybe make a little money off it if you're lucky. I mean, that's true. It's true. All right. I also believe any creative endeavor requires a sense of what I call earnest play, with all the trappings and conditions of making good film genre. Otherwise, I think we have to approach our art with glee and abandon. And we don't often know how to do that. Our inner critic of self can get in the way, right? And other people's opinions, of course. But interesting. Yeah. Oh, Nicolas Cage is right. Actually, I'll go over that in a second. Right. Nicolas Cage, right? I used to hate this dude. I thought he was a horrible actor. This dude is like the hardest working dude, and he's made some crazy films. Right. Very interesting. Usually the opposite of an actor, although you could argue that he's not anywhere as big as he was, but nobody is. I can afford to be more eccentric in my work, right? I can have fun and gleeful in the moment, let my earnest play just fly. Kids do that. They engage in earnest play, right? They do it better than anyone. And I think as we get older, we need to try to return to that mindset. Well, she's obviously... This is interesting, right? Because she's older, right? I mean, the whole business has changed. You're in it. If you're in this stuff, it's because you love doing it, okay? Because you ain't making a ton of money. So, you've come a long way, Final Girl. The feminine is just all over this. Right? Now, I'm not gonna go over this too much. Right? I keep telling you, the Final Girl. They made this whole thing about the Final Girl from a feminist perspective, sociological perspective. Okay, the reason there's a final girl, okay, is actually There's a lot of cold, hard things in that. Okay, there's a final girl because nobody gives a shit what happens to a man. Okay, a woman has more value. Okay, in terms of whether it's a woman looking at another woman in danger. Oh, that might be me, or a man going, "Oh, that's a woman. Let me save her so I can mate with her." Right? No one gives a damn about a man. A man sees another man, of course, unless it's his comrade, but you don't. There's none of that here, right? Or his brother, or which they've destroyed. Or a woman's like, oh, I don't care about him. He's weak. Yeah, I want the best of everything. So that's where your final girl is. Nobody would care if it was a final dude, right? And that's the truth. But they're strong. Hey, it's all right. So this one here, this was interesting. This film, Long Legs. I'm probably gonna end up seeing this at some points because you can say they hyped the hell out of it. But there's some people whose judgment I trust. Like Andy Nowicki has seen this and he liked it. He liked it, and that means something to me. So this interview was of the director, obviously the son of Anthony Perkins. I had gone over that in the Rue Morgue. Obviously, there's a lot of crossover. Rue Morgue and Fango are going to go over a lot of the same things. But the interview was done by this guy, Nicolas Cage, the actor in the film. And also, everyone knows Nick Cage is he's a genre fan as a kid growing up. So, and so it was an interesting interview. I'm actually not going to mention too much about it. I recommend that you see that, except that's him. Nicolas Cage, the serial killer, Long Legs. Alright, so we'll go on here. Aliens. I mean, listen, man. The Xenomorph is awesome, but you gotta stop with this. So, and this director's from Uruguay. I hear Uruguay is an awesome place. A very small country, away from everything. Right? You'll do anything but do what your parents did if you're lucky. Maybe you should stay in Uruguay and get away from this world that's falling apart. But let's see, the new Alien movie. Oh, hey, it looks like the new Star Wars. Listen, they're always gonna bring whatever. If something made money even 30 years ago, they're gonna try to do it again. So. And of course, there's a little, what were you trying to say? Ripley was the final. I keep saying Ripley in Alien. I mean, Aliens is a separate thing. In Alien, it was great. In terms of a female protagonist, the final girl, okay? She got lucky, right? But also, she was, that scene where she's in the escape pod and then she realizes that this thing is there with her. The terror in her face and the fact that she's quiet as hell, and uses her head. That was an amazing scene. So it's amazing they mentioned it here that Ridley Scott is 86 years old. My God. And we'll wrap it up with a little retrospective. Of course, I mean, to me, Alien, right? Aliens is like Aliens. What a film, man. What a film, Alien. I remember seeing that in the movie theater. It was, my father saw. He was like, "Oh my God, this was a great film." So, and then Predator came out a year later. Come on, man. So, now Alien 3, like I said, Alien 3 is a good film. Okay, if it wasn't part of the Alien series. So in Alien 4, I remember this. Winona Ryder, Brad Dourif, and Ripley is the clone of Ripley with some of the DNA. I thought that was a decent film, but I don't really remember much more of that. But in terms of the article, I mean, listen, the irony is that the editor's like, oh, we're gonna go over all new stuff, but you keep seeing that you can't escape it. Okay, you can't escape the past, right? Isn't that one of the tropes of horror, right? You can't escape the past. The past is maybe the past wasn't so bad, or maybe the past had more than what you have now. But anyway, we'll do another part of this. This is a marker for this film, which for some reason this doesn't even remind me of a slash film. It reminds me of that film Vice Squad. Remember that movie with Wings Hauser, that crazy ass movie. But anyway, this will be for the next vid. Fango. Oh boy. Yeah. Actually, this was not a bad issue though.